Hello, welcome to Lathe and Loom. My name is Cher. This is a mainly knitting podcast with a little bit of spinning, dyeing, or weaving thrown in on occasion. Today is all knitting. It's a pretty quick update. I'm actually filming this a little bit early, so just a couple days after my last upload. And I wanted to give you kind of a progress update on my cutting edge vest, which is a pattern by Ailbíona McLochlainn that I've been working on. And then the other item I've got planned, a cast on for the Lusk T version. This is a pattern by Clow, so the yarn arrived for that this week, and that will be part of the make along that I'm running. So I'm just going to update you on those and maybe have a little bit of chat at the end, and it'll be a fairly short episode, so grab a cuppa and your project and let's get started. All right, so first I want to get started with talking about the cutting edge vest. So it doesn't really fall quite into the tanks and tees, but I wanted to cast this on. Just wanted to have, I was working on a number of things were small size needles, so this is a little bit larger gauge, so I thought it would be a good time to cast it on. And I never worked with Plotalopi, so I am knitting it with Plotalopi yarn, which is by Istex, and this is in the colorway 9102, and sort of a medium heathered gray. And Plotalopi comes in these cakes, and what I've done is wound it up into balls. I pulled one strand from the center, one strand from the outside, and then wound it up into balls. So I've not had any, I'm a pretty loose knitter, and I've not really had any trouble with it breaking, although if you are a really tight knitter, I can see where folks might have some issues with that. A little bit better because it's double. So here is where I am, and it looks a little interesting. As you can see, it kind of looks a little bit like a, I don't know, giant oversized tea cozy or something, but so the pattern is fully steeked. So you cast on up here at the neckline, and then you are doing essentially raglan style increases, and you have a steek in the front. I don't know if you can see, yeah, the steek in the front here. It's running down this line for the neck. No, this one. And each of the armholes has a steek, and I have bound those off. So this is the length of one armhole steek. She's got an interesting way of doing that. I have steeked, I think, 3 other projects. My very first video is the steeking of my woodlark shawl, which is a pattern by Lerka of Fiber Tales. That's a really nice gateway steeked garment because you're knitting in the round color work shawl, and you're steeking just that one long steek. So pretty low opportunity to mess up sizing or something like that. This one's going to be interesting. I did do a gauge swatch for 2 reasons. I had not ever worked with the Plotalopi, and I wanted to see kind of how that was to knit. And I'm kind of glad I did experiment a little bit, just sort of get my knitting down. Here's my swatch. You swatch this, and so here's the other reason. You swatch this in the round. This is in the pattern. And then you are doing the steek in the swatch as well. And so you're able to try it out without, don't do it if you're going to play yarn chicken, but I would advise in this case you really should swatch. I'm not a big swatcher, but I did get gauge, which was amazing, so maybe I will love knitting with Plotalopi. So the recommended needle size for this pattern is 4.5 millimeter or US 7. I typically have to go down a whole needle size, but in this case I am knitting it with that size, and I will probably bump up to a 5mm US 8 as I kind of get towards the way, my hip line, just to give me a little bit extra. The pattern has these 3 options. It has a plain collar, which is the one I'm knitting, so no embellishment. It has a ribbed collar and sleeve, and then it has a shawl collar option. I actually think I would like to re-knit this in the fall in the cream Chastari natural, just natural, their traditional wool. I think that shawl collar would be really nice for the winter time, and I think that yarn would steek up really, really nicely. And then it has 2 options for the hem, just a standard ribbed hem or a split hem. So I'm probably going to do the split hem, and it gives you an option to do straight or a flare. So I'm going to do a little bit of an A-line, just kind of give a loose shaping, and then I'm going to do that split hem option. So I have cast on, I have completed the neckline, and I have completed both sleeves. So I'm now knitting in the round until I get to the recommended length, or the length I want for the body prior to doing the hem. The instructions are really good. This is a little bit different than the past steeks that I've done, and her instructions on the finishing are really good. So she does recommend that you steam block or wet block it, but you're going to use an iron on the steeks to really get them nice and flat before you're tacking them down. So I'm really just try that. And what I'm thinking I'm going to do, this has been in my knitting bag. I've pulled out it a few times. Like, I don't think this yarn is going anywhere, but I do think it's I want to maybe just needle felt around the edges of the steek before I cut it, kind of just down that center line. And Gudrun Johnston just posted a series of tutorials on her YouTube channel for the Seafairdy vest. And in that, it's also steeked for the arm and neckline. And she actually did a really interesting, I've seen her needle felt before cutting the steek, but she actually, after she folded it under, instead of tacking it, she actually needle felted it. So I might try that. I might try both. But I will record as I do that. I know that Susan from Wild Cottage Knitting, I think she was in the middle of, she had kind of a hibernated project that I think she's pulling hers back out. So if you want to jump on that bandwagon, especially if you're in the Southern Hemisphere and you're doing some winter knitting, love to have you there. So it's just recommended so the gauge is 18 stitches and 24 rounds over 4 inches or 10 centimeters squared. And recommended a DK to Aran weight. And I think that's UK Aran, US worsted yarn. And just you want a good sticky, steekable yarn. So probably non-superwash is going to be your best friend, especially if you've not steeked before. I have heard of some folks who have some luck with like Spin Cycle and stuff. Andrew Mowry talks about this. Some of the maybe lightly superwashed yarns that steek well, and if you do a reinforcement or if you use a sewing machine, you've got a lot of options. I don't really like to, I try to just use yarns that I don't have to mess with. So I steeked, as I said, in my Woodlark shawl, and then I've done 2 Victory cardigans, which is a pattern by Corinne Tomlinson of the Woolly Thistle. I have videos of all 3 of those in my episodes playlist. Actually, I think I've actually put them into the techniques playlist as well, so you should be able to find them quite easily. And also in the second Victory cardigan, I show how to put a ribbon, how I do the ribbon behind the steek. So at least that's my version of it. Don't take it as gospel, but hopefully it just will help give you some ideas. And I think, again, Gudrun Johnston's and Susan Crawford also has a YouTube channel. She has some Steeking videos on hers that I've found really good too. If you're nervous about it, like I said, knit up a little swatch with the yarn and just try it. I think it's very freeing. I'm now looking for patterns that are steeked because it's just a quicker knit, right? I don't mind purling at all, but it's nice to just be able to knit in the round. So let's see, is that everything? I think that's everything to tell you. The pattern's very well written. It's got good schematics. You cannot try it on. So again, gauge swatch will be your friend. Hopefully I'm right. So I have a 43-inch upper bust. I'm actually knitting the 42 and a half with some recommended ease. So or 42 and a half with some recommended ease. It should be fine. And then I'm gonna, as I said, increase one needle size down towards the hip. So that is the progress on the Cutting Edge Vest by Ailbíona McLochlainn. So the next pattern I wanted to talk about is my next cast on. I don't need another cast on, y'all. I spent most of last year kind of cleaning up hibernated whips, getting things off the needles. I had some big sweaters going on, and I really rarely had more than 2 things actively on the needles. I mean, obviously I had some things lingering. And the last maybe 3 weeks, I've cast on all the things. So I've had a lot of yarns waiting for me to decide what I wanted to do from a summer pattern. I had some yarns I wanted to try. I had some patterns I knew I wanted to do. So I have a number of summer knits. The breezeway that I've talked about is on the needles. Casting on this Lusk tee. I'm thinking about re-knitting my Tolsta tee in a smaller size, actually frogging that and reusing the yarn. I want to do the weekend cami that Amy Shear just released, and I do have yarn for that for a pattern that I decided to not go forward with last year. What else? I feel like there's some others, but anyway, so that sort of led to the make-along that I'm running. So the Tees and Tanks make-along started June 1. I'm going to run that through August 31st. You can join in Instagram with the hashtag. I will have a FO thread as we get a little bit further on. I'm going to do something probably the end of each month-ish. Haven't quite decided the right format for that, but just for a pattern giveaway, probably through the channel, maybe the first one. We do have a small chat group in Instagram of folks that are knitting along. Love to have you join that. Just send me a DM. I can be found on Instagram here. And also I'm working on setting up a Discord server as well. Susan of Wild Cottage Crochet and Knitting, hope I got that right this time, Susan, it has mentioned a few times, and I think some of her followers are joining along too. So happy to have everyone join in. And again, I tried to make it a little more inclusive for the Southern Hemisphere, hoping that tanks and tees are a little more year-round things that we can layer. So, didn't call it a summer knits or whatever, although certainly for me in Eastern North Carolina, they are summer knits. And having a bit of a career change, so I have a lot more opportunity to wear some of my casual or things maybe I wouldn't have worn exactly to the office. So I'm excited about that, and that might be part of the wild cast on with wild abandon. So anyway, for my next cast on, I am going to cast on the Lusk tee, which is a pattern by Rebecca Clow. I have been trying out some just different yarn and yarn mixes. So on my Phoebe top, that's one of the other ones I have. Phoebe Topper is a pattern by Amy Shear. I'm using Wool Dreamer Sayona, so a 50-50 wool cotton. I explored in the Harlow Flip a wool bamboo, which I really liked. So for this one, I decided to try one of the actual recommended yarns, which is Drops Bell. And I've picked that up in these two colors. So the darker colorway it's a black, it's color 08. I think it's actually just black on the website. And the lighter they had several whites, beiges. This one is colorway 26. These are both produced in the EU, and the content is 53% cotton, 33% viscose, and 14% linen. So I'm going to do a stripe version. I think it's exactly the version that Rebecca has in one of the pattern photos, or very similar. The pattern I've not really dug into yet, but typical of her pattern, you can do long sleeve, short sleeve. What I liked about this one, I don't fit a raglan style sweater very well. So I'm really excited to have a pattern that has all the options that this does, and be able to, so you can add bust darts or not. Kind of on the cusp of whether that is a good idea for me or not. I think if I knit to my upper bust and have a little bit of less ease or even slightly negative around the bust, that's about right. But it has some modifications for the bust shaping. Again, long sleeve or short sleeve. You can do stripes, you can do eyelets, you can do thin stripes, and she's done the pattern repeats in a way that makes that math fairly easy. So there's the pattern, when you purchase it, comes with a fingering version, a DK version, and the modification, so the 3 PDFs. So I'm looking forward to that. This is knit, there's 11 sizes, so very size inclusive. On quick look, so the sizing is without bust shaping. So this would be a standard B cup is how she's showing it. It's 70.5 centimeters finished chest circumference. So again, I would call this the chest, but she's got a schematic, so look at that. Up to the size 11 is 169.5 centimeters. So that's 27.75 inches to 66.75 inches. The gauge is 17 stitches and 27 rows. So she's recommending a US size 7 needle. So that'd be interesting to see. I'm going to have to gauge swatch because I'm not familiar with this yarn. I'm thinking that, it's not going to have the stretch. I mean, it really has no stretch. So might get away with the 7. I may have to go down to a 6. So we'll see how that goes. I will certainly be keeping you posted on that. And actually, she's doing the finished bust measurement actually at your full bust. So take that under advisement. Just looking through yardage. When I looked at the yardage on the Ravelry page, I have 3 skeins of each yarn, or each ball of yarn. I think I got this on sale for just under $3. I got it from Linde Hobby, which it took about a week to get here, but about $3 a ball. So I got 6 balls, 3 of each, and it's 50 grams. 120 meters or 131 yards. Its needle recommendation is a US 6, so somewhere in that invest. I know the pattern's a little bit looser gauge, so which would be nice from a summer perspective. So I will have to do a swatch. I love to swatch. No, but I will, just to get a save. But I'm kind of right on the yarn quantity, so I will probably do it in a way that I can undo my swatch as well. So that is the Lusk tee, the make along. I would love to have you join us. What else do I have going on? So I also ordered some, at the same time I ordered some drops Viking yarn bamboo. It's just really pretty. I just wanted to have a couple of larger needle things to do to a little bit quicker tees, like the Breezeways fingering weight US. I'm using a 3. So, you know, want a few things that have a little bit larger gauge and might be a little bit quicker since I have so many of them cast on. I am trying to like be kind of diligent about hitting everything every week, and some days I just want to, like, yesterday I worked on I think the habitation throw, and then I really just wanted to work on the cutting edge vest, so I did that all day. I'm trying to, and it lets me kind of go back and forth in larger or smaller gauges. I also am very embarrassingly have, if I think about it, I'll put a picture in here. I love, editing me loves when I do that. But I've been using on our teapot a pot holder for its tea cozy. The other day I thought, this is ridiculous. I really just need to knit a tea cozy. So I've been looking at tea cozy patterns. I've tried before the really traditional tea cozy with the kind of fluted folds, and I didn't have good luck. I think I'm going to swatch a thing. I can't find anything that's exactly what I like, but if I've looked at a number of things, either I'm going to do something that's just like a 2x2 rib with almost like a mini muscle burrow, so I've like a knitted inside and then a ribbed outside, so I have 2 layers, or I'm going to try that fluted kind of more Victorian style. It's a fairly small teapot, so I'm just going to kind of wing it and see where I get. I think brioche would be nice as well. I don't need it to have, I don't want the spout and the handle to stick out. I just cover over it to kind of keep it warm. So anyway, if you have a favorite tea cozy pattern or something along that lines, I would love to hear about it. And then I've got the blankets kind of working in the background. I've got some fleece that I'm working on processing, and I've got the fleece with the dog hair silk that I'm trying to get finished from a friend. So I'll have a little bit more of that as we go on through the summer. I thought I might put together when I do the steeks for the cutting edge vest. I thought I may put together a compilation of my other Steeking, just kind of pieces out of each of them, so it's kind of all in one place. Love to know if that would be of interest to you. And some natural dyeing. I've got some madder root that I purchased at the Blue Ridge Fiber Festival. I've got some indigo powder that I purchased last year, some madder root powder. Marigolds are in full bloom, so definitely want to get out and do a little of that while we've got some good outdoor weather to do that. So that is a little bit of what is going on at the Lathe and Loom Crafty Studios. Love to hear what you're working on. Just drop a comment below and let me know. If you'd like to join the make along, just reach out to me on Instagram. We'll get you into that chat group, or use the hashtag, and we'll have more on that probably in next week's video on the gift away. Probably I will give away a Ravelry pattern, so that if you have one that you've been looking at, you can drop that in the comments. Probably that's what we'll do, and then we'll I'll draw that way. So thank you so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you next week. Happy knitting, spinning, dyeing, and weaving. Bye, y'all.